Greetings! Welcome to the 9th episode of what shall soon be a precursor before we know it. I am Fett, the powerful and somewhat educated individual responsible for what I have coined as the Quiet Palace Podcast, where great legends prevail and evil wanes to dust. Hopefully. And, if I'm not mistaken, we're on a third part of a 3-part series. A finale before a finale. Isn't that wonderful? I will cut our thesis to a fine point, and our dilly-dallying entirely. We have spoken of Dustuka Hold well enough already. We are aware of what elements to keep in mind while building this dungeon, and build it. We shall. Hold again in your mind's eye the most powerful influences for your dungeon. A haunting entrance, or an elaborate or subtle one. Dustuka Hold bears a gate with a set of stairs that lead below the surface level, but what surrounds that, you ask? Undoubtedly, large walls of onyx form the arena's barrier and support its various seating areas. Now withered away with time, with walls of night, heroes and criminals of the past would perish to beings whose minds were broken by a sadistic king. Pillars carved within these thick walls line the stairway down, weaving around the wall's underground support beams, strengthening their hold against the exposure they receive through the lower levels of the dungeon within. When one enters the arena, whether that be through the main entrance that is littered with rubble and bones, or through one of the many worn openings in this old and battered wall, an eerie sense of unease comes to mind for the average adventurer. This place seems old, but definitely not abandoned. Recent footprints can be found amidst the rubble, and cleared openings in the wall can be found to allow for easier access, established by those who have claimed parts of this place as their territory. Beneath the rubble is a layer of sand that coats the stone floor beneath it. The sand was put there despite the terrain outside of the arena, indicating that this was a choice that went into the arena's development. This place has sustained a lot of damage due to the lack of maintenance and the waste of the elements and careless inhabitants. One thing for sure, creatures of all kinds lurk here, and most, if not all, hold malice in their heart, should it still be beating. And outside of those walls yet are the many parasitic blights that roam, looking for the next husk from which more of these creatures shall emerge. They lurk in small openings, disguising themselves as dead foliage, attacking when a living humanoid gets too close. They may be found around the forest opening, and wandering groups will become hostile on sight. Your adventurers may spot a tree about 30 feet east from the arena. Underneath it are hordes of the same dead foliage. However, some of them move, dancing under the tree or lurking in dark areas nearby. This can perhaps be noticeable on closer inspection, as not to reveal too much too quickly. Said tree is indeed the evil treant Nahagaloth. Upon killing most of the blights or damaging the tree, Nahagaloth will anger and emerge, revealing himself as a powerful treant. Upon that discovery, well, let the battle begin. This one wishes to see the death of many. This party is no exception, sadly. Returning to the heart of the battlegrounds, at the opposite end of the main entrance, a large, broken portcullis reveals a mildly inconvenient entry to the holding cells. Stealth will be difficult if that's how the party should choose to approach things, but either way, with a 3 to 4 foot gap, most party members should at least be able to shimmy through. You all laugh at the halfling, and then they hop through a hole and complete a puzzle. Don't forget how useful that is. Just saying. The open maw of the holding cells bears a scent of death you can sense via the entrance alone. Before them are a few select challenges they are so strong as to face this day. The first floor might be a foretelling of what's to come. The second level is higher than the third level, yes, as they are ordered by the highest elevation. Do it differently if you wish, but that's just easier for me. I envision the third and second level split by 2 separate stairways, one leading down furthest to the third level, the other leading to the second level. The party enters the first floor after descending about 60 feet underground. bones of various kinds and even the abundance of rat corpses, fresh and otherwise, are found amidst the rubble along the stairs. On the first floor, you may see a large opening, something along the lines of 20 feet high, 90 feet wide, and 90 feet across, mostly filled with passageways and cell blocks. Most of them containing skeletons, random assorted items, mostly very old and very degraded if recognizable for what they were. Here and there, a cell might hold an interesting looking item, a potion, a bag, a chest, various other things people could easily overlook in dim light or darkness. We'll say this level is dimly lit. You may try to gain entry to this cell. Some might already be accessible. Some doors might be broken due to rusting and require force or fiddling to gain access. A corpse might rest within and rise up to attack when the party goes to retrieve their spoils. These can be ghouls, zombies, or similar undead of a suitable challenge rating. We'll stick with these two examples for now. These undead may also patrol the main passageways, making for some clutch stealth moments or various battles that may announce their presence. At this point, it is noticeable that the architecture goes from onyx-crafted construction to stone carving, as they use the stone they bored into for the walls of the inner dungeon. The cells might only be 10 feet high, meaning that the party could theoretically walk along the roof of the cells with a little dex check here and there. It's hard to think they could slip, get trapped, and have their legs eaten by zombies, but that's how the world is sometimes. Just gotta hope you don't end up doing that to them. I guess you could just lower the roof, but in my mind it adds an extra element that could make things interesting. If they really want to stay out of the main passage's traverse within this wretched place, that's a decent option. The left, or east, passageway found in the intersection at the end of the first level leads down another 40 feet. This place and the third floor, as well, shall match the dimensions of the first floor. As one descends down these stairs, various warding stones line the walls and floor. Multiple saving throws are to be made if the party does not spot them with a good perception DC. We'll say a DC of 16 to spot them in the darkness as a subtle inscription on the wall or a stone or whatever. Failure to spot them might result in a saving throw or straight up damage. Some magic missiles might be what the sadistic doctor ordered. Maybe poison spells or necrotic damaging ones. You name it. You can fire it all off at them if they're too clumsy. Here, various chains can be seen hoisted to the wall. Though this place is slowly falling apart, the chains look like new. Upon further inspection, they are magical chains meant to limit the magical capabilities of a creature bound to it. The chain cannot be broken, meaning it must be pried out of the wall itself, having been driven into the wall with mechanical or magical force. This will take lots of time and be very loud. It's just a decoration, for goodness sakes! A part of the story! Stop trying to use my storytelling tools as a MacGuffin! Mess with that how you will, however. Who am I to limit creativity? Alongside those, steel-grated domes line the corners of the second floor, bashed open at some point, one internally, the rest externally. However, the most immediate threat on this floor is the witches and the hags that chant at the edge of the room. At a dead end, the hags and witches add to a large black cauldron propped up over a small bonfire underneath. This is where a battle with the hag and her coven may commence. The cultist stat block and a hag stat block, say maybe even green hag or even night hag if that's your choice. After the defeat, one might find a few things. Spellbooks or the hag's horrid bag of souls among her other benign trinkets. Daggers, hearts, or other tools for the dark arts can be found amidst the corpses of the coven. Delilah will give no quarter to the adventurers, chasing them out of the dungeon or fighting them until her position is no longer advantageous. She wishes not to expose weakness to her enemy on the third floor, and will avoid sustaining too much damage. She will opt for escape if she must, but she won't go for a fight to the death unless it's forced upon her. Here, in the corners and in select portions along the second level, many fresh and long-rotted body parts of various creatures can be found, alongside whole corpses. Some areas hold piles of bones picked clean for their meat by the coven itself or the hordes of rats who have made their home in the grated steel domes found in the corners of this wretched place. Down 65 feet from the first floor's intersection, the third floor held naught but for a pit of the dead. Piles and piles of skeletons rest within an unperceivable depth in the middle of this room, about 30 feet in diameter. If my measurements are off by chance, we have 90 feet in both length and width to use. We'll preserve about a third of that floor, just as the corpse pit. Mathematics are not my strongest suit, so I can justify rolling for things a lot. The Dungeon Master's Guide has been a great tool for that where imagination or straight-up focus might fail us. Maybe we'll go into making dice tables in a future episode. Here, multiple cultists practice on the various corpses of the dead. Skeletons and zombies patrol the stairway and the extent of the third floor, shambling through the darkness and fending off blind wanderers. There may be perhaps a stronger, beefier cultist among this group of 6 to 10. Aside from the stone walls and the corpse pit as it stands, bones line the floor and make a whole room difficult terrain. Inscriptions of madness can be seen etched on the wall. One of them, an elaborate carving into the stone depicting the lion's ring. At the very edge of the third floor, there's a secret switch activated when one finds the very subtle lines that depict a portion of stone that can be pressed in, and appears to have a slight sign that something was put in place behind it. When the switch is pressed, a portion of stone in the right corner of the room slowly slides open, revealing a small dungeon that is about a 20-foot walk through a 5-foot wide corridor of complete darkness. Here, the air is still and piercing to the senses. Various stenches of death and disease can be found within. Perhaps touching anything causes a constitution save against a DC of 14, otherwise they're poisoned for as long as they can breathe in the stench. If they succeed, they're immune for 24 hours. They may even have to make a con save against an easier DC of 12 or so just for breathing in the rancid air. Allowing your party to be smart or innovative here is really useful, allowing enough fabric to cover the face to endure the stench. They could automatically pass or have advantage on the save, having to make it again for lowering their mask. It all depends on what they have and how they do things, of course. And, obviously, how the DM wants this to work. It could regularly stink from the corpses used in this room for the Lich's sustenance. Perhaps, however, a magical stink that sets their guts off kilter could be a lot of fun. Persisting poison, maybe poison damage over time, that sort of stuff. However, this fight would be against a Lich, so it might already be difficult enough. So even just stinking without the inconveniences is entirely acceptable, but could pose a strategy to lure the Lich out, making for a fun session without a doubt. Here, Neverthe the Blunt will not be tempted to waste time. She perceives the party as a threat to her cause to retrieve the ring. If they have the ring, and she finds out somehow, she will instantly try to scheme them out of it. If this cannot be done, we revert to them being of no use to her, and she will attack. Long resting or short resting in these floors, especially after being cleared of the threats there. Long resting or short resting in these floors, especially after being cleared of threats, might be possible. However, returning faction members or wandering creatures might get the better of them, or they may have to set up in a way that helps prevent issues while resting. Through a secret entrance found in the first floor, perhaps a button in a mock holding cell or a magical puzzle that opens the door when solved, it may open up a path where the holding cells end that lead up to the arena seating. There were once external entrances to the arena seating, now collapsed due to time's decay. This path in particular leads to the king's seating area, higher than the audience's by about 20 feet. Here, an ornate chest could be found behind a large stone chair that has mounts for fabric cushions to be placed upon it for comfort. This gold-gilded stone chest forces any good-aligned characters that touch it to make a wisdom save, causing 3d6 psychic damage on a failed save and half as much on a successful one. The chest will also refuse to open. Once opened by an anarchist barbarian or spiteful warlock, a tablet with the lion's ring inscription can be found, giving the character the triggering phrase. Now all they have to do is know the Empire's old language or find perhaps enough reading material to translate the text, or understand the pronunciation of that phrase. You don't have to do that, but I certainly would. You have the key, yes, but the door is not lubricated enough to open properly, so you go find the oil that opens the door to incredible motes of power. But that covers all the elements I was hoping to capture in this example of a dungeon, created by the process of imagination and established context. This process is a simple one. It's all about being aware of the story you want to tell and the challenges you want them to face. This might be akin to what you do already as a DM, but I hope that this example has proven to iron out any kinks you may have as your mind imagines the next mysterious structure your fated party might delve into. And for those minor details we missed along the way, does the hag like baked goods? What do the rats eat? Please don't answer that. Are there other creatures trapped within this place? What about these magical chains on floor 2 I mentioned? Red caps, fairies, evil elven mages, or the like could be found chained up, whether dead or alive. Perhaps they are the guard dogs of the Coven, or their tormented test subjects. Those can be fairly diverse, though some, when questioned properly, might reveal the tablet's location if they know it. That, however, I leave in your hands. After all, this is your dungeon and your rules. If there is more to this place than even I have established, so be it. Whether it's Dustuka Hold or your own brainchild, let your imagination flow, let new ideas come to be, and never be scared to try out a new mechanic. Just remember to keep in mind, how big of an inconvenience does it pose in totality? Can it be worked around? And what can be done to reverse its effects? Remember, spells like augury, remove curse, or dispel magic could be good to consider for how your party might navigate through this place and the challenges ahead. However, that's where we'll end this discussion today. I hope you had fun with me throughout this process. Should you run things in the theater of the mind concept, this will blend together nicely in your narration process. Same goes with the maps and the visual aids. For the purposes of this podcast, however, that was the playstyle I built this place around. Still complex enough that you must go to the right direction for your objectives, but easy enough that you're not getting lost in a maze halfway in. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for number 9. This has been fun for me so far, and I hope that you guys have gotten some entertainment, knowledge, and maybe even some inspiration from this content. And as always, if you have feedback, questions, or anything to contribute to the context of D&D or dungeon building for this video, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. If you like this type of content and want to see more in the future, do that and all the other good things to make me look decent. But you don't have to, though. And also, you guys do love your multi-classing concepts. Message received, dear mortals. Come Season 2, there will definitely be more of that on the way. Until the next time we meet, if the sky is gray, but the breeze is gentle, the quiet palace shall be nearby. Take care.